and then just hit the button to make the mask. If I want to, again, holding down Option and click, I can look and see the detail that I got. See nice clean lines around all of him and around the football helmet and that sort of thing. And I can tell you it took a while. That it arguably, I can't remember how long it took now because it didn't so long ago, but at least an hour, probably more than that, to get to this point where I have that nice selection around. And that's good because it should take you that long to get the details. Don't ever think that these quick selection based tools and stuff that they create is supposed to help save you time. It really doesn't, because if you want the details, you're still going to take the time to get the details in there and get them correct. It's just inevitable. So, what am I going to do next? Well, I got this part of it done. So what I need to do is I need to open another file so I could transfer this picture into that other file and kind of get started on the rest of this project here. So I'm going to go to File to Open and find this other file. Now, the other file is this VT file. It's basically the football field background there. I'm going to open up that, and I want to show you something. Again, this is an optional thing. You don't have to do this, but it's kind of nice to do. If you remember in part one, I talked about protecting your file. So you open up this is your original file. You want to keep this as it is and not destroy it in any kind of way. So I showed you a couple of different ways in which to do that. Going image and going to duplicate is probably for me the most popular option to do, because I can duplicate this file when I do image and duplicate, give it a name. Let's say I just call it uh, football field, just to put a name to it. And then hit OK. It creates a duplicate of this entire file. And then the original I can get rid of, and then I have the duplicate that I haven't saved yet that I can do whatever I want to with it, and then eventually save it and make it my own. So there's that. That is very much an option. But there's some other things that I want to do. I don't want to use this picture as it is. What I want to do is I want to create a magazine cover. Um, so creating a magazine cover out of it, because I have that Eastern Division champions and some other things. And if you ever looked at Sports Illustrated or Newsweek or any other type of printed magazine back in the day, they always had an effect where the title or the words that were on the cover, sometimes the person would be like sometimes over top of it, sometimes underneath it, sometimes it look like they're going through it in some kind of way. So I want to show you that little trick with this. It's easy to do once you see it, but it involves layer masking. So it gives me a chance to show you that as well. But I also want to create an 8 by 10, 8-inch by 10-inch magazine cover that is going to incorporate all these things. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make myself a new document. So File to New. In the dialog box here that pops up, I want to do 8 inches wide. So make sure this is set to inches first. So 8 inches for the width. The height, I want to set to 10 inches because that's usually standard magazine cover. Magazine cover is not going to be printed. It's just going to be used like social media. If it's going to be printed, it's going to be a low resolution print. So 150 pixel is like the lowest resolution you would do for anything that's going to be printed. So if you're not quite sure if it's going to be printed, you could put it at 150 pixel per inch. That's larger than the 96 that's needed for your social media or anything on the web, on the internet, but it's high enough to just be able to print an inkjet printer, any basic laser printer that you may have. For commercial level printing, you'd probably be up closer towards the 300 range, but we're not doing this as a commercial thing right now. So 150 works good. Color mode is RGB. The background contents are going to be white, so I'll leave that alone. I want to make sure my color profile, usually it's going to be set up to be your working profile if you did what we did in lesson 3 with the color theory stuff. So everything else is going to be taken care of. So I hit OK or hit create. and I get my new, I did had the background contents were set to transparent and I didn't set it to white. I messed up. Um, by the way, if you do this type of mistake, you wanted white as the background color. don't don't freak out. You can still keep this as it is. There is one little small trick, again, not really used that much, but if you go to your layer menu and go to new, you'll get this command that says background from layer. What it does is take whatever layer you have selected, turns it into a background layer. So if it's a layer that has a picture on it, that picture now becomes the background layer, like we were talking about in part one. If there's nothing here, like right now, this will just make this a white, fill this with white, make it the background layer with the padlock, and there I go. So, I don't lose anything to what I was trying to do before. So I didn't hit that. I had transparent instead of white as my background because I was over here rubbing my eye instead of looking at what I was doing. All right, let's get into the transfer. So what I want to do is I want to start transferring these two pictures that I have open and transferring their layer into this picture here. And then being able to not only transfer it over, but transform it to make it larger, smaller, so it fits in the space that I need for what I'm trying to do. So first one is going to be this football field background. If I right click on the layer in the layers palette and go to duplicate layer, when I choose duplicate layer, the name, I'm going to call it field because that's what this is. And the document that it's going to go into is going to be the untitled one because I haven't named this new document I made. So it's untitled one for now because I haven't done anything to name it yet. I hadn't saved it or anything like that. So untitled one is the name of the document that it's going to go into. When I hit OK, again, nothing happens here in this file. But if I go to untitled one, now that picture is sitting there. Okay. Now, once I get it there in place, now I want to kind of resize this thing because I don't need it to be this big. That picture was a lot bigger physically than this file that I brought it into. So I want to transform it. Usually when you're transforming a picture that's bigger, you run into a problem where the transformation handles that I was showing you yesterday. Let me go to edit, click free transform. The transformation handles that you normally would like scale this down by grabbing it or whatever, sometimes they're way off the screen and you can't even see them. So you're gonna have to rely on the options bar a lot of times when you have this bigger picture. So in the options bar, when you do that free transform, again, Control T or Command T is the keyboard shortcut, or you go to Edit Free Transform. You look at the width and the height. You want to make sure that that chain link is linked together between the two, and then you could just use the scrubber option. Hover over one of the labels to scale this down. Don't worry about how small you make it. You just want to scale it down to where you can see those handles to resize. And then you can start to physically move this to where you want it to go and further scale it up or down to get it to what you want and things like that. And what I want is maybe have it this big, maybe cover like this, and then position like here. Not worried about the rest of the color that's supposed to be showing up underneath there because I'm going to show you a neat little trick that'll help you fill that specific area. So I hit the check mark there, and that now gives me that picture scaled to the size I need it to be to cover my magazine cover. Um, so now I got that one done. Going back to the photos. So this file I'm finished with. I don't need it to be open. So close it because there's no need to have it open and you're not doing anything with it. The picture of the football player here. I need him transferred over there to that other file. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to right click on this background copy. I'm going to do duplicate layer. Once I do the duplicate, I'm going to give this guy a name. I'll just call him 50 because that's his jersey number. Document I wanted to go into again is untitled one. Then I hit OK. Nothing happens in this file, but he is existing now in here. And he is huge. So I need to do the same thing. Controller Command T to turn on the free transform. And then I want to scale him down and then reposition him. Since he's cut off down there at the bottom, I definitely want to make sure that, he goes a little bit further than the bottom of the page there. And then I want to scale him up proportionally. Let's say make him about that big, so he fits about right there. I think that's a good look so far. And then I hit the check mark there to apply that. So now when you do that transfer, notice again, the whole entire layer mask and all comes over. Picture, layer mask, everything is there. So if I realize once I get them against this new background that something doesn't look quite right, I can fix that, with the masking. So that can be done. Now, next thing about layers that I did not cover in part one is locking a layer so you don't accidentally mess with it. He is fine. He is in the position I need him to be. For right now, I don't need to do anything else to him. So up above the layers there in the layers palette, there is this lock option, and you have a bunch of buttons there for the lock. The one that's the most important is the padlock. The other button options there allow you to lock certain aspects or certain parts of the picture. Like the first one there, little checkerboard square, locks all the transparent areas of the layer. So like all the area that the football player is not on, I can still I wouldn't be able to paint on that or apply a filter or whatever to that space. It's only going to apply where the pixels are. Second button there with the paintbrush allows the locks your ability to edit the layer, which means I can't paint, I can't apply a filter, I can't do anything to that layer. I can move it, but I can't do anything else. Third button over, the cross made of arrows, keeps you from moving the image around. So I wouldn't be able to move that layer around in its contents. I can apply filters and all the other stuff, but I couldn't move it. The fourth button, ignore it because you're not really going to use it. That's for locking artboards down. I mentioned I think in the first lecture about the artboard capability that's here within Photoshop. I never use it because I just don't like it. If you go back to that lecture, you can hear me rant and rave about that. But this allows you to lock the individual artboards that you create. So I don't make artboards, so ignore it. And then the padlock here locks everything. You can't move, you can't select, you can't grab, you can't change anything that makes up that layer. And you'll just end up clicking through and selecting whatever's behind this for that layer there. So I want to do that so that way I don't accidentally, move this guy and maybe change something on him. I'm also going to turn the visibility off for right now. So not only is it locked, but I can't see it because I want to address this field here for a minute. I don't need the lights that are showing here. I don't mind the lights casting on the building and on the stands and that sort of thing, but these bright lights sitting right there, I don't need that. Also, the background, I want to replace this background white with the color of the background that's on this picture. The black darkness there. It's not black. It's not sometimes it's not straight ahead black. It's a combination of colors to get that to be dark. So the best thing that you need to do is sample the color off the picture, probably like right up here towards the top edge, not further down because then you may get some of the colors from the lights, dissipating in there, but right up here at the top, it won't be that color. So what I want to do is this. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do and then I'll do it. I want to sample this color. I want to fill the background layer with that color that I sample. Then I'm going to go to the field layer and I'm going to create a layer mask that I can paint on and paint away these lights. So the lights aren't there and it'll be replaced with that background color. So here is the process. First off, eyedropper tool. When you select your eyedropper tool in the options of the options bar, what are you going to be doing? You're going to set your sample size. What are you going to set your sample size to? Completely up to you, but usually I use a 3x3 average for what I'm about to do. 3x3 or 5x5. It selects the next 3 or 5 pixels surrounding wherever I click to be able to get the average color there. So instead of 1 pixel it's only picking out of, with the point sample, it's going after a couple of pixels. Skin tone. Color of anything. You probably want to do that depending on the resolution of your image. A high resolution image, like in the 300s or more or close to it, you could probably go to 5 by 5 or even 11 by 11 and get a different reading. For this, 3 by 3 is fine. So I'm just going to use that. Show sample ring is usually checked on. That's basically this little ring that you get whenever you click and hold. And then the sample all layers, current layer, or current and below. That's up to you if you want to make sure that you're only getting the information from the current layer that you're working on. You may want to change that sample choice. Now, you go somewhere, and the tip of the eyedropper is what you're using to sample from. If you click and hold, you can move your mouse around and you can see how it's sampling and trying the top of that ring, the top half of that ring doesn't change. Depending on where you go, it starts to change. That shows you what it's sampling. So if I go right up here towards the top of the picture, it's going to pick that up and sample that. And is it black specifically? No, because if I click onto that foreground color square where it sampled the color and put it into, it's not 100% black. If you look at the CMYK numbers or even the RGB numbers, there's a number fluctuation there. So it's not 100% black. It's dark, and it's weird having to say that, I know, but it is dark. It is by vision black, but technically it's not 100% black. So it's not 100% K for in the CMYK and 0% of everything else. It's not all zeros for the RGB. There's something there. There's some color there. So it's not completely black. That's just being nitpicky, but you have to be nitpicky sometimes. Now, I want to take that foreground color and I want to fill the background layer with that color. So I want to show you the manual way of doing this. You go to your edit menu, and under edit, you'll see fill. When you go edit the fill, it's going to ask you what do you want to fill with. In the content section here, you have foreground and background color, which is these two squares. Remember, the top square is called your foreground color. The bottom square is called your background color. So you can use one of those. If you pick color out of here, it'll open up that the color picker. And the same thing I did with the eyedropper, I'd be able to do as well. Because again, if you look at the options bar up there, it's giving you the eyedropper values. So the eyedropper option. So I could do the same thing with picking the color and trying to sample the color out of here if you want to do that. But if you already got the color sampled, just choose foreground color and go from there. You have other options here. You got straight black, straight white, 50% gray, pattern or a history. You can go back to or things like that. But usually when you do an edit to fill, you're filling it with some type of color. So you're either picking color, foreground color, or one of the black, gray, or white, choices there. So you could choose that, and you want to make sure the color mode is at normal and your opacity is at 100%. So you fill in that whole layer completely with that color. You hit OK, that's what you're going to get. That entire layer is now filled with that color. Now, you should be able to distinctly see kind of the division right above the lights because the lights are of course dissipating all up and out and into the off the edge. Right in the middle though, it's hard to see the difference between there because that's where I sample the color. So that's what that background layer is set to. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a layer mask on this field layer. And I'm going to paint away as much as I can of these lights because I really don't want these lights to be here. And the mask is going to hide the lights, and then the background color, is going to show through. All right. So to do that, again, bottom of the layers palette for that, make sure you got the right layer selected, field. And then you're going to click to add a new layer mask. When I don't have anything selected and I make the layer mask, the layer mask is completely white because again, white reveals, black hides. So when I click on that layer mask, and this is my habit, I do this all the time. I make the layer mask, I immediately come up here to the layers palette and I click on the layer mask to make sure that highlight is around the mask. Jump over to my paintbrush. I want to use the soft round brush this time. So I have the soft edge brush. I want a brush with my options. I'm using the square bracket keys to make the brush kind of big where it kind of covers most of the light there at one time. Blend mode is going to be normal. Opacity is 100%. The flow is at 100%. And the color that I'm going to use, I want to use black because black hides and white reveals. So if I need to, I can hit the letter D on my keyboard and hit the letter to make sure I got my two default colors. Then I can hit the letter X on my keyboard to go back and forth between the black and the white. And I want to make sure black is the top color. And then I start painting. Now, because I'm using this soft edge brush and it's not a hard edge brush, with one click, I kind of get this little soft, almost black hole thing going on when I click on there. So I get this softer edge kind of blending out of this color here. Uh-oh, I'm getting the beach ball of death. Come on. And then what I can do is paint over the top of this picture to try to paint as much of this lights as I can out without getting rid of anything else. I can change the size of the brush so that way when I get to the more detailed areas like around the building and everything, I can kind of paint a little bit less at a time. I still want to keep the stands and everything in place as much as possible. I just don't want this glow of the lights to be there as much as I can get rid of. And it looks like, I'm just painting it away or making it disappear. It's just being hidden. The background, is just being hidden there. You can see when I turn the background layer off, see what I'm actually doing there. And again, since I turned the layers visibility off, I can clean this up a little bit more, you know. And I'm not erasing, so if I happen to go too far, oops, I just switch my colors, hit the letter X to make white my foreground color, and then I just paint the oopsies back in, because I didn't want to get rid of those pieces. So I can paint back in anything that I ended up accidentally painting away. It's that easy. Now, combined together, this is my result so far. I'm done with the field layer. There's nothing else that I need to do to it right now. So I'm going to lock that layer, while I got it selected. Going back to my 50 guy, see now he's sitting. Well, now he's in front of the field. There's no lights there getting in the way. It looks kind of bad right now, but we're going to clean that up in a minute too. Because we're going to do a little bit more, probably coming back to do a little more painting after we put these other elements in place. Because what I want to do is I want to bring in that stadium light picture, same way as I did before. So this picture of the player, that's this number 50 PSD file. I don't need that anymore, so I can close it. I don't need to save any changes I did to it. I want to go to File and Open. Let me open up these other pictures here. So there's this stadium lights. There's this hexagon pattern. There's this background final that I want to use for texture and that sort of thing. If you want to open them all up at the same time, just hold down your control or your command key and you can click on each one of them one at a time. And when you hit the open button, if there's a color profile mismatch or something, it'll ask you about it for each one that you're opening. So you'll have to answer those questions on each one, and you'll have each one of the files open. Depending on your computer's health, like how well that it processes and that sort of thing, that may be a bad deal because that could start the computer having a heart attack or what have you. I don't really need to do that right now, but I'm just showing you that that option is there. Let me just get stadium lights here because that's all I need to open up for now. Convert it to my working profile. Hit OK. Now what I want to do is I want to transfer the stadium lights into this file that I'm working on into my project file. Matter of fact, hold on. Something that I haven't done is save my project file. So let me go File to Save. I want to save this as a PSD file because I don't want things to blow up on me. So I'm going to save it as a Photoshop file. I'm going to save it actually in my cloud document as a cloud document. So that way it's not saved as a PSD file. It's saved as a PSC for Photoshop Cloud. And it's just going to be saved in here. And it's already got number 50 there. So let's say Eastern Champs. That'll be the name of it. So I save that sitting there. Advantage of saving to the cloud. It's not saved on the computer that you're in front of. It's saved into your cloud file, your cloud documents. You can go to any other computer and log in with your Creative Cloud account, and that file will be available for you to pull up and do whatever you want to with it. The file also doesn't have to be saved over and over again. It's going to automatically save every time you do something. So anytime you do something to the file, within about a 5 minute period of time, 5 to 10 minutes, it will do an automatic resave. So if you haven't done anything in 5 or 10 minutes, it'll just go ahead and save on its own. But as you start adding new layers or doing other things, as soon as you do that, it tends to save right then and there as soon as you do it. So that way it kind of holds on to it in case the computer crashes. You won't lose what you've done. So that's an advantage of that. In any case, what I want to do is I want to transfer this Stadium Lights into my new Eastern Champ file. So I'll right click on the light layer, duplicate the layer. I'll call it lights. And I want to duplicate it into Eastern Champs and hit OK. Now I can close the stadium lights because I don't need it anymore. These stadium lights are, overly huge, big, and stuff, but that's okay because I want to transform this and scale it down to something a lot more reasonable in size and get it over here. Now, design wise, I don't need this thing to cover the entire page. I just need the lights big enough and off to the corner because I just want this to shine on my player with the lights and the light streaks on here. And then I hit the check mark to put that in place. Now, this looks ugly, right? It's not what I want. What I want is I want the lights to shine onto him, and I don't want, this black background or whatever because it hides, him and whatever. I can change the stack order to pull this underneath him, but now it's on top of the field. And if I want, I can pull the lights down underneath to the field, but now I see that little transition bit that I had going on. That's not what I want. So what can I do? Well, here are your options. In part one, we talked about blend modes. So I could change the blend mode to probably lighten or